So it's one of the interesting sort of things is that you're kind of doing this campaign in reverse of what most people do. You ran for premier before you ran for MLA. And of course, you've been an MLA in the past. But I was just wondering what it was like to do that really large campaign and speak to all British Columbians first, and then immediately switch over to talking to people in one neighborhood and listening to those concerns.
Because I went and got the premier's job before I got the MLA job, I now have a full-time job. Well, a more than full-time job. So what I'm trying to do is be candidate by morning, premier by day, maybe candidate at lunchtime, and then candidate by night again. And that's the hard part, is because both jobs are really, 14-hour day jobs. Being an MLA is a different job from being premier. So I would, if I'm successful here, have to represent the views of this community as uniquely. I mean, when I'm thinking about rapid transit to Ubyssey, I'm not, I have to think about the province's interest, but it's really a riding first issue. Or when I'm thinking about the Jericho Wharf, I mean, that probably wouldn't make my radar as premier necessarily if I wasn't representing the community. So it's a different set of issues.
Mr. Eby recently wrote a column, either came out today or yesterday, asserting that you'd be an absentee MLA. Do you think that's a fair charge?
No, I don't think so. I think I have a lot more in common with this community than David Eby does. I mean, I think if the two of us were to imagine the perfect street we ever wanted to live on, for me it would be in Point Grey. For him it probably wouldn't be. And so I think I have more intuitively in common with the aspirations of the people who live in Vancouver-Point Grey than he does. And I think that is a really important thing if you want to do a good job as an MLA representing the community. I mean, it's not just about getting elected and then doing what you want, which is, I think, might be what we'd see if David Eby becomes the MLA.
So you mentioned the UBC rapid transit, which has been a big issue here. A lot of contention on both sides. What's your position on a possible rapid transit line to UBC?
So the one upside of having this whole decision about the Evergreen line yet to get finished is that we have time to consult with people. And so this community and UBC needs that transit line. It is it's the busiest transit destination anywhere in the province. So there's a strong argument for making it happen, but we have time to consult, and we need to consult.
Obviously, our constituency is students, and so education is a massive concern to all the people who we talk to. And since the Liberals came to power in 2001 and unfroze tuition, rates have about doubled from then until now. What would you do to ease the student debt burden in British Columbia?
Well, remember, while rates have gone up, we're still about middle of the pack in the country in terms of tuition fees across the country, and I think that's you probably want to be, lots of people argue you want to be in a different spot, but about the middle is where we're at realistically. I think there are things we can look at with respect to student debt. We can try and make sure that the student loan system is working better and more fairly for people. I've heard a lot about that from students, and I think we need to remember that even if you're sending supporting more than one child is going to a post-secondary institution in British Columbia, 2 or 3 or 4, as some families are, it's really expensive even if we're in the middle of the pack, and it's difficult to finance all that student debt. And that's a real issue for families, for middle-class families in the province. So Naomi Yamamoto is thinking about some of those issues, how we can address in particular the way the student aid program works, because I've heard that a lot from students. We're not there yet in figuring it out, but we're committed to trying to find an answer.
Would you pledge to maintain the province's current cap on tuition rates, continue to cap it to inflation?
Yes.
What's your opinion on the current interim state of governance at UBC in the wake of Bill 20?
What's going on with governance at UBC?
Right now, UBC is a provincial fiefdom.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I'm sorry. You mean the whole
all the lands west of White is what I mean.
You know what I immediately went to? I thought the AMS is an interim government. I've met with people who live out there. I've met with the people who own their land fee simple. And today I'm meeting with some folks who live on the university lands, so I'm going to talk to them a little bit more about that. I want to make sure I understand their views, and my determination is to represent their views in the provincial government, and no one can do that better, I think, than a premier.
Premier Clark, thank you for your time.
It's my pleasure.